I'm lost. I'm stressing. This has been a rough week.
Yeah.
And we're recording.
Well, no,
Hey, so wait, I'll say this. Hey Chuck, I just got off the phone with Professor Harmon and was talking about our texts.
What text?
Yeah.
What
Like
text?
about our
Which one?
conversation earlier.
Oh, the one that I sent earlier?
Yeah, but me, like
Oh,
me,
okay.
you and Jesse have been talking about. Like
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
say
Alright.
what you said, right? But I mean, because I'm in that same boat, right? It's like I said, like I'm trying to understand the content of the class, but I mean, it's a foreign language.
when it's compact so tightly.
Yeah.
Into especially 8 weeks, and then you're doing two classes.
The amount of work is not, because we've had a lot of work before. Like if you put together Partita's class and Mr. Professor Peter's class, the English course, we had a lot of papers that were due, but not two huge things on Wednesday when you have all the discussion forums due, and now we got this paper to do, and the discussion forum for this class, you got to go and do your reading assignment is normally due on Sunday. You got to finish it by Wednesday so you can answer the question.
Right.
So I'm literally like, for example,
this textbook.
Right. And so this class here, I literally spent on my discussion, between my discussion question and the paper that's due that I didn't get into this morning. I spent literally between 8 to 10 hours on each. Now, is it supposed to be that way, or am I just not as smart as everybody else? I'm trying to wonder if it's just me, because apparently some people can finish all except one assignment by today.
Hey, I mean, everyone else, you're welcome to weigh in on that. And give some feedback.
So I have clocked 3, 4, 5. So Chuck, I have clocked 6 hours for this class alone this week. And I've only—
Are you done?
No, I've only gotten the cultures worksheet done and about half of the reading.
Right.
So
I actually had
and the discussion board.
How can you finish only half of the reading when the question has to do with the reading? And I'm not, Patty, I'm not picking on you, sister. I'm just trying to get the help on it for myself,
Sure. Yeah, I look at the questions and I see what parts of the reading I have to do for that. And I only get done what I have to, and the rest I just sort of wing it. Don't listen, Professor.
I've been where you've been.
I was gonna say, not that the professor has ever done this. The professor is like every parent to every teenager.
Yeah.
I know everything you're doing. I know exactly. So that's exactly what I do.
I had yesterday off. I sat down on my computer at 7 a.m. I took a lunch break at 3. I got done at 8:30. And I walked away with the majority. I had 4 assignments that I had not turned in up to that point. Reading, like Patty, I will find what needs to be so that I can comprehend or try. I'm going to be honest. When I read your question this week for our post, I about choked because I'm thinking I have no idea, and I'm waiting for somebody just to put something up there so I can kind of see where I'm supposed to go. And with Sims, the same way. I get it. We're in a condensed class, so that part I understand. But like your reading assignment, I have read the Hidden Riches Law about 4 times, and I honestly cannot find anywhere in there where even the word suzerain is listed. And I'm like, thinking, am I in the wrong book? Am I reading the wrong chapter? So I've gone back, I've gone forward, and it's just, I'm not going to say it's stressful, because obviously it is. But again, I,
Sure.
like the rest of us in this class, we're individuals. Not to say anything bad about the cohort that those kids or the other people are in, but I have a feeling that they're bouncing ideas off of each other. When you look at their responses, they pretty much look the same. We don't get that benefit. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't care. But when you get there and you go, okay, am I that? I'm like Chuck, am I really that not smart that I can't figure this out? And when you read it 4 times and you're struggling, that's the first thing that at least comes into my mind. And
Sure.
yes, Brian and Chuck and I have had a thread going all week long just to kind of keep each other from jumping off the cliff. And like I've told you before, we have an email loop that goes around, and that whole thing is just to keep everybody in the loop and, you know, kind of make it funny whenever I post, but it's just to lighten it up, because it's heavy. I mean, when you get into these books and you're reading about who knows what, and then I'm supposed to answer it and make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, I was talking with Brian just about how even, you know, I was given this class to present, and in its structure and in its form. And, you know, I read through all of the chapters before the class, and so got to see everything and read that you guys were asked to read. And it's like, yeah, this is definitely these aren't devotionals, you know, these aren't, you know, talk about your life and your loves and your hurts and pains. It's like, no, this is actually pretty deep, and there's some very this is really new, like just in terms of the type of content, you know. I mean, this is stuff that you don't hear preached, really teached. I mean, it's yeah, it's very new. So yeah, anyway, I'm just saying, so as I was being exposed to the materials, I mean, I took this as just a normal class back in undergrad, and, you know, I remember it being definitely challenging, but we had that extended amount of time. There was, you know, obviously the student-teacher interaction was more built in to the format of the class, you know, where you're having, you know, whatever it was, 2 to 4 hours of lecture a week, you know. Then this class, the way it's set up, is very student-driven in its structure, which obviously some students, that's you can put them, you know, in a locked room and they're just fine, and others it's like, we really need that interaction, and the discussion really helps, you know. Is Professor Sims' class, is it a biblical exegesis class? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
today he throws some Greek dictionary at us that looks like it's in a foreign language, and it's like,
It is Greek.
I was like lost.
Well, and at least the biblical exegesis classes that I've taken in the past, those are also very technical, and there's a lot of steps and time consuming, at least as I remember it. So, you know, to put 2 of these classes back to back, I don't know if that's just what's required of the overall program, you know, to just to keep you guys on track. But I know both of those back to back quite a bit. So I'm saying I hear what you're saying, and hear the struggle in it. I really do. I hear you, and it's something that I will, when I'm able to talk with like my supervisor as we debrief this is definitely going to be probably the big thing here is realistic expectations for the students, on the students, right? And then what can students have realistic expectations going into the course, you know, from the course. So
Yeah, for me, it's like, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to reading these books again on my time, because it's difficult to understand, but I like the comparison between the two. I think there's a lot of knowledge behind that. And like I said, I understand because it's a condensed form that there's going to be a lot of work. I came here expecting it. It's, to me, what stresses me out the most is not a lot of work, because I know I got to get it in for the most part by Sunday night, 11 o'clock. And for me, I lose like 3 or 4 hours because it's California time. It's not Hawaii time. So I'm already losing those hours. But it's just that Wednesday mark that's killing me.
Okay.
Everything together for that Wednesday. Not the amount of work, because I think getting it all in by the Sunday would be doable. Honestly, I have called in sick from work for the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to do it to the end of this semester. Because if not, I will not be able to complete the work. I will not be able to. And if I call in sick, Life Pacific does not get paid, because I don't get paid. Although I'm retired, so I have a pension, but that don't go to Life Pacific. But in any case, I called in sick so I could get the work done is what I want to do. I want to get and learn, at least walk away with something when I leave here, not just a grade, because I think I can get the work done and get a good grade, but will I retain it all when the class is over? And the question is probably, I'm not going to retain much, because everything was just crammed down our throats. It's expected because it's an online condensed version. But like I said, last semester, the only thing we had to do was discussion forums with all the papers that was due for English, the rough drafts, the finals, all that stuff. Everything, the only thing was due was discussions. And so it made things manageable, even though it was stressful, but it made things manageable. And then, so I'm done. I said what I was going to say.
No,
because
sure.
Listen, I enjoy the class. I do. I am.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. I was talking with Brian. I was telling him, like, this is not hurting my feelings. Like, what Brian, what you and I were talking about is not surprising. So this is not surprising. So it sounds like if things were, like, if due dates for like that cultural worksheets due Friday or just Sunday, that would just,
even that would be more helpful.
Or if you forget about it.
Right. Some things are my call and some things aren't my call.
Listen,
you know.
I totally
So something, no, I know. But so something like that would just make it more manageable in terms of,
even if it was
the working
Friday would be
the working
great.
Students. Right.
Friday would be great, but even if it was Thursday, it would be easier. Although for me, like, I even have full-time responsibilities as a pastor with my church. So I have staff meeting devotions and sometimes messages for Sundays. So it's a crazy week when that happens.
Yeah. So yeah, and like students that are full-time, just get out of high school, they're full-time students. They may be serving a couple hours at a church. Have the resources to have the schooling paid for, maybe by certain government loans or whatever, or parents. If so, that's great. but they have a little bit more of a scheduling compatibility with this class, right? They're able to kind of focus a little more on this as maybe a full-time student, whereas sounds like just for the working students, you know, who are working professionals and whatnot, especially in ministry, these time frames just aren't really conducive to learning or your lifestyle. So
It's
just
not
what
even
I'm
that
hearing.
they aren't
Well, I will be
conducive.
the opposite voice just for a moment, just because I know the first week of this 8 weeks overwhelmed me. And I remember sitting down that Monday and thinking, oh my God, this is a heck of a lot of reading. And I'm going to be honest, I read fast. I mean, I usually normally have 2 to 3 books going at a time, fiction, nonfiction, if I'm doing it, unless I'm writing something else. And, but I was like, oh my, I feel like I'm in the swing of it now. As long as I can keep the dates due of what's due.
Yeah.
Professor, I messed up the other class too last week. Anyway. So, but I enjoy the content. That Ancient Near East book to me needs to be put in a time capsule and no one ever read it again. That is to me, that is the stringiest sentences, the most longest. It's just so, I love the content, but the manner in writing, I just cannot stand.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, the Hidden Riches actually hasn't been too bad to me. That one's not been the one I'm frustrated with. The other one just can just put me to, I actually, honest to God, I'm sitting right here. I fell asleep one night reading it. Just absolutely fell asleep. 45 minutes later, I'm like, God, I hadn't moved anywhere. Okay, help me. But I appreciate, you know, and
Sure, yeah.
which I was going to say this. So I said, I like the condensedness of it. I really do, because that's one thing in college years back and even now, I cannot stand anything to take more time than it should take. And hopefully we take even less time than that. So, which I may make everybody mad at me for saying that. You know, if it could be 6 weeks, I'm signing up. I mean, no.
Just get the punishment over and done with. Yeah, right. I mean,
I think if it was that short though, we could seriously only do one class at a time.
Oh, no question.
We have 2 classes right now.
But you know, I will say this too, though. When I signed up, because I'm not in any cohort. I'm actually in a, you know, and she told me I was a guinea pig for the continuing education bachelor's, because I'm just a few courses short of going into that thing. She told me right off the bat, she says, your first 8 weeks are going to be really easy. She says, for you, she says, your next 2 8 weeks are going to be heavy. And then she goes, and sadly, the next 2, and she goes, and sadly, you're a senior pastor, so you're 8 weeks going into Christmas are going to be really hard. She says, I know you're a pastor. She says, but she goes, the next 8 weeks for you, 8 weeks for you after that will be 2 classes and something. And then the fourth one for me is only 1 class. And she goes, but you have Easter coming up, so hopefully that's a good one. And I'm thinking, hopefully it's an easy one, you know, because it's already a busy time. But I remember her telling me right off the bat that these 2 8 weeks would be intense. So I guess that kind of geared my head up for it. So I wasn't. But I will, again, that Monday, I was like, oh my God, help me. This is a lot of reading. And again, I'm a fast reader. I mean, I can kick out a book. But the Hammurabi, however you say his name, I'm so tired of saying his name and trying to write his name correctly. And then it being spelled on 2 different engines.
Oh, right. You know, there is the good news is that I as I look at the course, I think you guys are past. After this week, you're going to start entering into reading the other book. And I think that book is a lot more, it's only 1 book. And I think it's more accessible. All right, there you go. I think it's more accessible. I think it's a little more relevant. I think some of the concepts are very clearly presented, and I think will just ring a little bit more easily for all of you. And really the next, going into this next week and then to the end of the course, it's pretty much going to be all about this book. So all that to say, you know, I think these first 3 weeks were a heavy crash course. I think are the heaviest. And then I think the final weeks will be I think just a little more manageable. Not saying necessarily easy, but I think it'll be more manageable. I think you'll resonate with it more.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are you hearing this from the other students, or are we just the only ones that are talking at this point, as far as how overwhelmed this particular week is?
I received a few emails. I want to say they probably were all from you. Like you know.
I thought you meant like
I
all from
I
Jesse.
believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that.
Hey, I sent
That
him
one right there.
emails. I'll be the first one. This is the first time that I've reached out to a professor. I mean, seriously, it's I hold myself to a level, and I want to succeed, and I want to be successful, just like we all do. And when I struggle with something, I'm a hands-on guy. I'll work with it for days. I don't care, but I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I would say that I in terms of just students reaching out, I'm pretty sure that it was mostly you guys that were the ones specifically asking for some just input, some feedback. Most of the other emails that as far as I can recall that I've received from students have been just like, I forgot this project. Can you, cut me some slack a little bit? Stuff like that. Those kind of, that's the kind of feedback I've gotten. I would imagine, what is that? I would imagine that most students feel exactly how you're feeling, Jesse, and as well as everybody else. So I would imagine that, unless this is like literally built into, because I was at a church where they had an institute. I don't know if you guys heard of those before, but students, where students can, they basically can, their life was centered around the church and ministry, teaching, and classes. So I was at one, and time for class was like built into the day, and which I think is great. If you can have that, it's great. But obviously, if you're not in that situation as a working person, you don't have that luxury of just convenient built-in time into the flow of your life. You got to really, work at it with all the responsibilities, that you have.
So would you be against not giving out the answer, but at least directing us to a page that we can find the answer? If that makes sense?
Yeah, so any request for help, like when it comes to an assignment, I will be very open and very generous with what I provide in terms of an answer. So, and that goes for you or any student. So if you email me and ask for some specific help and direction, then I will be as generous with my answers and direction as Christianly possible, I suppose. So, and I make that available to any students in any situation. Now, obviously, if there comes a point where, you're kind of using and abusing me, then I'll say so. But I am here to be a resource, and I am here to, if you have a question, shoot me an email. I try to get back promptly. We got about 10 minutes left. So anyway, all that say, yes, I am willing to point you in the right direction for things. So don't hesitate to ask me. And if for some reason I can't, or I'm just unable, I'll let you know. But please reach out to me. So
Email
I
sent.
think, yeah. There you go. So go for it. And I really don't mind. All right. I really don't mind. I want to be able to direct you to that. So I'm very happy to help.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. like I said, I know where you guys, I've been there before. It's tough. I never had to do schooling with kids, but man, I know many of you have kids. Gee whiz. Oof, it's a lot of work on top of life and ministry, jobs, all that good stuff. So we have a little bit of time left. Anyone else have any other questions? And like I said, feelings aren't hurt at all. I appreciate the feedback. So,
Well, us being guinea pigs, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. No, and I don't mean that in any funny way. It's just there's no way to know how much water to let out the dam until you start letting water out. And at some
Right.
point, the river's gonna flood, and then you go, okay, well, let's back off a little bit. And we've been the beneficiary of that back off. And I think again, it's a learning process. Everything when we first started out this class, that's everything we heard was, hey, let us know if you find anything, if there's anything. And I know I personally haven't reached out in a few weeks. We did our kind of a recap after the first 8 weeks and kind of at least I gave a little bit of input. But I mean, we'll do the same thing, I'm assuming, after this. Again, my son-in-law worked for the school. He was just here last weekend and was asking how it was going. And I was honest with him. And at that point, we hadn't hit this week, or the answers may have been a little bit different just because of, again, the reading and not understanding. But again, I mean, how are we supposed to know until we get there?
Right. Do they have you guys check in with any academic advisors or any other sort of counselor people? Okay.
Now we hear from, what's that lady's name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
all she
it's
does
like
is
the
say,
beginning
hey,
of
if you want, you can come and watch a chapel. Keep going. You guys are doing good. That's all we hear.
I had
Yeah,
a question.
she's encouraging. She is.
I was looking at in our class syllabus, and there was a group assignment mentioned later on in our class. Do we pick our own groups, or do you assign us our groups, or how does that work for that particular assignment?
Yeah, I am working on that. What I'm inclined to do at this point is assign groups based on your already pre-groupings. So like for example, there's the 6 of you that are sort of the stragglers. I would probably just group 2 groups of 3, amongst you guys. And then I'm able to see, because Dorothy has told me that there's a certain other kind of internship group, and there's like 9 students in that. I'd probably group them according to their already internship group. So I guess at this point I would pre-assign based on your already sort of natural groupings. That kind of helps. So more than likely you're going to be like grouped with somebody you already have known and worked with here that we're, is on the screen more than likely.
Cool. All right. Thanks.
If that's helpful and if that works. So that was my thought. And yeah, I do get the sense that some of the kind of cohorts that are located in other places, that they're kind of working together. Just having to make sure they're not working too closely. So, Yeah. Well, I like I said, I do appreciate all of you for saying this. And thank you for the feedback. Do make sure, I'll kind of log this and make a note of this for sure. I don't know if they give any at the end of the class, like feedback, or maybe at the end of semesters, or, if they ask for feedback with anybody. but I would definitely say when you get those chances, give some of your thoughts and feedback on how to do it and make it better. Believe me that I understand that there's a sense that you guys are sort of guinea pigs. So I guess I do take that into consideration when I'm evaluating assignments. I guess I'd say that. So I guess some of that does work in all of your favor. So
Right.
it doesn't mean don't do your best, but you know, I want to be realistic towards you as you're try to be realistic towards the course and so on and so forth. So we'll land the plane here, everybody. But like I said, if you have any specific questions, just go ahead and email me and I'll try to respond in a timely manner to that and point you in the right direction. Is that you want to say something, Chuck, before we go? Or
You're on mute.
Chuck,
Oh,
you on-
yeah.
I gotta go. So you guys have a great night.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Okay, no problem. All right, you guys. Well, if you're good, we'll end it there. Before we got about 2 minutes left or so, but I hope you all have a good night, and we'll have this. Does 8:30 work better for you?
Fine.
That didn't really matter.
No, I mean, I'm here. I'm here.
I'm East
All
Coast.
right.
It's 11 o'clock here, but I'm ready to go. Fine to me.
Okay. Good, man. I mean, my bed, I start winding down for bed at 9 p.m. myself. So,
So,
yeah.
Here's my excuse. I traveled as, quote, the evangelist. I've been in ministry 30-something years, but for 15 years of it full time, I was the evangelist or the guest speaker or the comedian, and I did all these certain things. So I had to be ready at 7 o'clock multiple times a week, and I had to be full of energy. And then it was, the great service. You go out to eat, and then you got to wind down. I'm still trying to wind down. I mean, so come 10:30, 7, 8 o'clock, I'm ready to go.
Holy smokes.
So thank
right,
God.
well-
Thank God this is on California time. That works perfect.
That God has given you a special grace. He's not given me or anybody else. But okay, well, everybody, we'll end it there. But have a good night, and we'll see you guys next week, hopefully.
Alrighty, good
All
night.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.